we've got Cycle 3, Rockwell, Week 14 grade artist, and I'm just do a quick overview of the second part of this, the project part for this this week, and to check out, like I mentioned in the email, check out Cycle 2's artist Rembrandt for how to do, of me demonstrating how to do the warm-up worksheet. So in that, this is all about the proportions of the face and how the eyes are halfway in between, and then how the eyes, edges of the eyes line up with the mouth. So how to draw that, and then here's my quick example from last year of just doing that really quick, and emphasize with students, you know, those oils, so curved lines, straight lines, and looking at proportions. But make sure that tutors, that you want to read through this first so that you're familiar with it before you do it in class. Okay? So, but check out Rembrandt Cycle 2 in my channel to see me do that and walk through that. And then I just wanted to show you guys also the lesson plan, which is I already posted that. And some things you could emphasize with your class is that, so like Grandma Moses that we talked about last week, Rockwell was also self-taught. So, but what are some of the differences between Rockwell's artwork and Grandma Moses's artwork, which was simple and was considered to be folk art? And Rockwell here, he has much more details. The drawings are very technical, that he studied anatomy so that he would get the correct proportions, that he's trying to capture more realistically his subject, versus Grandma Moses, who is just kind of capturing the feeling and those that scene, like the maple syruping one, or that checkered house that we looked at, just kind of capturing the joy of those farm scenes versus more of the technical work that Rockwell's doing, even though they're both self-taught. And then the other big things is that Rockwell's talking about for the grammar illustration art, so they're all drawings that he's just layered color into, and then commercial art, so that he is an employed artist to make artwork for magazines and other publications, and that it's meant to be reproduced. It's not artwork that is like paintings that would be hung in an art gallery where there's just one of those that's a unique piece of artwork. These are meant to be reproduced, made lots of them. And then you could also talk about the grammar of line that we went over last week also, and then proportion, scale, symmetry, like in the warm-up worksheet. So that, and then just like was in the email and the post, that these are some of the example pieces of artwork from Rockwell, some very famous pieces. And when you're looking at these, really pay attention to the expressions. That he's another point of conversation for some of the older students would be looking at what is the difference between these portraits. All of these are the subject is a person or a couple of people, versus last year in Cycle 2 studying Rembrandt and some of the other artists there, Degas, where what does this scene look like? How is the portrait different? These ones, Rembrandt's, they were all very kind of more posed, and paintings that would last a long time, that were much more expensive, right? So people were wealthier that would have been purchasing those kinds of portraits, versus these were reproduction. They're more about capturing that time or an expression, or kind of like photography, but it's a little bit more artistic than the photography of this time is yet, even still. Okay, and then here's another example, No Swimming, also very famous. And then this one, Santa Claus. Great expressions captured. And so with your class, with the younger kids, I will definitely probably just be staying here on the warm-up worksheet. Take your time. It's not meant to be super detailed, just working on oils and the essence of those shapes. But with older students who may have done that or move a little bit quicker, you could move on to, there'll be a copy of grid paper, which is the same grid as in the warm-up sheet. and the proportions of that anyways. And that you can translate that and look at these blown up examples of two of the faces from Rockwell. And so looking at, you know, the shapes of the eyes and the other features, mouth, and how that changes and how you translate that onto the grid. And so I will have these two examples. No way expecting students to be able to do, you know, a whole face, but that maybe after they've done the warm-up that they could work on just, you know, the eyes. The younger person in this is going to be easier than the older picture, just because there's you know, like, because the way he's holding his face, it's harder to get that mouth. It's no less usual, so, you know, finding that. But for the older students, that would be a good challenge, in adding in wrinkle lines. So you could talk about line quality and adding shading in these different areas to get that too. But I will have these two examples so students can see how to translate, you know, colored, you know, layered artwork like this back into a line drawing, to be able to capture the outside of the head first, and then move into, you know, the eye shape. How these ones are more rounded, these ones are squinty, but you could even just spend time talking about those expressions and the proportions, going over that grammar from the warm-up. Okay?